In this video, I have a so-called ELK set, although it's actually more recognition than algorithms. What you are going to do here is whenever you have an OL that only one edge is correctly flipped and the other three are wrong, you can almost always force it into a square or a T using the parity algorithm. And there's, I think, only one case where you can't really do that, or it's not worth it to do that. I also have a specific way of dealing with that particular case. So, okay, when I say square, I'm just referring to any OL that has this 2x2 square solved. They may or may not be other corners oriented, but generally if there is a 2x2 square at the minimum being solved, the OL is generally quite nice. Whereas for the T, there are only two possibilities. The first one is sexy sledgehammer, which is quite a fast OL. The other one is F sexy F prime, as like most people already know this, and it's probably the fastest OL out there. I recommend that you have to be familiar with two different OL parity ELKs, which are known as the Drew parity and the Lucas parity, but I prefer to call them the double parity and the OL parity. The double parity, also known as Drew parity. So what this algorithm does is it flips this edge around and it does not swap the two edges here. So what it means is that this algorithm can actually create or destroy PL parity depending on whether you have it in the first place, because it does an odd number of piece swap. Okay, so the algorithm goes like this. And the other algorithm, also known as the Lucas parity, which I prefer to call the OL parity, I think this one is the more famous one out of the two. What this algorithm does is it flips this entire front edge, effectively switching two corners, just like the double parity, but it also switches these two edges. So basically you have two swaps, which is an even number, and this algorithm has no PL parity related effects. The algorithm goes like this. So for the majority of the cases in this particular set, I'm not going to go through them because they just follow one general rule. If you memorize this rule, you can basically just force a square every single time you run into this majority set of cases. Check. They can be on the same side like that, or they can be on different sides like that. So if they are on the same side, let's do the OL parity algorithm, because the OL parity algorithm will switch these two, meaning this soft edge will come over here, and you will flip this entire set, meaning this tree will come over here, and you will end up with a square on top. So I'm just going to do the standard OL parity out like that. And I have a square on top. For a case like that, where it's on different sides, you want to flip this tree over here, but you don't want these two edges to switch places. So you just do the double parity out from this angle. And also force a square. However, there are 10 cases where it's either not obvious to follow the rule, or it's more worth it to do something else than to follow that rule that I just mentioned. So, okay, the first case will look something like this, where you have all corners solved, but three of the edges are flipped. So in the past, I used to remember a direct ELK to flip the tree, but it's actually not worth it. And the best way to handle this case is just to hold the cube from this particular angle and do the normal OL parity ELK or the double parity ELK. It doesn't make a difference, but you just do this ELK. And then you get an F sexy F prime case. The second case looks like this, where you have a H on top, but one side of the H is being flipped over. So what you do here is you hold the cube from this particular angle and you do B prime R prime, and then you do the OL parity. And then you undo that two setup move, so R B prime, and you have an OL skip. The third case looks something like this, where it looks almost like F sexy F prime, but this piece is being flipped over. So what I like to do is to hold it from the same angle at which I would do F sexy F prime, but I do the double parity ELK instead. And then I get this particular OL, which is not too bad. It's also quite a fast OL. Fourth case looks something like that, where it's possible to flip this over and get yourself a P case, but one alternative option, which I think is a bit better, is to hold the cube from this particular angle like this and to do the OL parity or the double parity. It doesn't really matter which one. And then you get the sexy sledgehammer case. Okay, for the next four cases, I like to call them the number 7 because you can roughly picture out a shape of a number 7 here. And what you can do when you see this particular set of cases is make sure the soft edge is at the back, and then you look at the two corners. They can be either left or right, like that. So let's say they're on the left, you bring the side with the two corners down like this, and then you do the double parity out. Then you undo that first setup move, and then the result is always a T. The reason why there are 4 cases is because there are F sexy F prime and sexy sledgehammer, and you can mirror the cases left and right. In this particular case, the 2 corners on the right, so you could bring the right side down, then double parity. And bring it up again, and you get F sexy F prime. And the other 2 are the same thing, just sexy sledgehammer. So these 2. And then I got sexy sledgehammer. And then for this one is the 2 on the right. And then yeah, the last 2 cases are just very obvious T's. So this is very obviously like if you flip this thing you get a sexy sledgehammer, and for this one if you flip this whole thing here you get a F sexy F prime. So I'm just going to do that. I won't really call myself someone who is super good at last layer, but I do feel that like this particular elk set does make quite a difference to how I handle OL parity, because it's basically a way to force an easy OL out of every single parity case where only one edge is correctly flipped. Recognition is also not that difficult. I hope that this video would be useful for you.